When I counted up my demons, saw there was one for every day, but with the good ones on my shoulders, I drove the other ones away.
I think that our past has a place for us, and it does sort of tell a story about us, but that's not who we are. And I think the present is very important because we have to live for the now. We incorporate what we've learned from the past and we build for our future. And our future is about goals, about what we want to achieve, what we want to dream, what we want to do. It's about putting into action the things that we think in our head. And it still has that beautiful taste of the now and living for the now. But it's also about anticipation and motivation. Admiring and liking and trying to emulate certain traits from people that we respect is a wonderful thing, but it won't make you any less you because you are the only you. You're your own person, you're unique, and by finding out what you like and by finding out what you don't like, and by really aspiring to be a happy, healthy, engaged person, you're being actively you. And that's a really beautiful thing. I think shame is a big theme when it comes to mental illness in general, and definitely with eating disorders. People who have been diagnosed with eating disorders or who maybe have an eating disorder but haven't even gone to someone to get diagnosed because of what people might think. They have a sense of shame. And it's really unfortunate and it's really sad that people are so ashamed of having an eating disorder. It's not something that we need to be ashamed of, and it isn't something to hide away and keep secret. It isn't something that we shouldn't talk about. It isn't something that we shouldn't share with other people, and it isn't something that we don't deserve help for. There's a quote I found a long time ago, and there was never any name attached to it, so I don't know who first said it or if I have somehow along the way twisted and turned the words to serve the purpose that I want to serve. But the quote is, "The heart of eating disorders is silence. Break the silence." And I really stand by that quote. I'm very passionate about what that says and what that means. Breaking the silence is important for so many things that we deal with. And where eating disorders are concerned, it's even more important. Sometimes we can't avoid triggering situations, but we can give ourselves some direction when we're in those triggering situations. We can say, if this happens or this happens, I will walk away. And if you can learn to follow your own rules, you'll be more in control and you'll be the one setting the standards. It's very important in recovery. It's very important in life. It's very important in reflection, introspection, your whole self. I want to dig a little bit deeper into what a trigger is, what it means, and why I think that it's not a good idea to really just avoid triggers because it may seem in the short term to make your life simpler, but really what it's doing is causing you to not really get better. You are just avoiding certain things that can be a problem. And what you have to realize is that life can be triggering, and leading a real or quote unquote normal life can have triggers in it. So the sooner you learn to deal with those things, the better off you're going to be, and the healthier you're going to be mentally, specifically, and also physically. Part of recovery is being in control of your life and not letting other things control you. Usually when someone is using something unhealthy to cope, like an eating disorder or alcoholism, for example, they relinquish their power little by little, more and more, to the unhealthy coping mechanism. And even though some of the eating disordered behaviors can make you feel more in control, you're not in control. You're giving over more and more control to the thing, and the thing would be the eating disorder. Unless you really take it upon yourself to fail, you can't actually fail recovery, and you will reach new life one day. You just have to be patient with yourself and patient with the process. And understand that it's like climbing a long, long rope. That's really hard. I don't know if anyone has ever tried to climb a rope all the way to the top, but it's not easy, and the rope of recovery is a really, really long one. Emotional abuse can really take a toll on a person's self-esteem and therefore on their identity. And emotional abuse is a form of abuse. It is not a lesser form of abuse than sexual or physical abuse. It's just different. It's a crazy concept, but it's true. No one's making you count calories. No one's making you weigh yourself daily. No one's making you keep track of what you eat and don't eat. No one's making you be obsessed about food and weight. No one is making you purge or binge. No one is making you berate yourself. No one is making you do these things. You and your eating disorder as a team are making you do these things. And once you break that team and you become your own boss, there is no limit to what you can accomplish. People often see therapy as a weakness. If they decide to go to therapy, they must really need help. They must really be weak. Or, God forbid, if they decide to go back to therapy because something's not working, obviously they're a failure or they've failed at something. And it really couldn't be farther from the truth, because therapy is actually very healthy. So many therapists go to therapy, and it doesn't mean that there's something wrong with them. It doesn't mean that they fail at being a human being. The best thing that you can do to combat emotional abuse is to remove yourself from abusive situations if that is possible for you. If it's not possible for you, or if you are taking the option of not removing yourself from an abusive situation, you can surround yourself with positive reinforcement. For all of the negative things that are said or around you, you can find a positive and sort of use those positive things as a barrier for you to keep you healthy and safe. And it's really about being safe within yourself, within your heart, within your mind, trying to stay at peace, trying to be able to live your everyday, not feeling like the emotional abuse says it all about you and your identity. You are your identity. You are the one that has the say in your identity. No one else does. They may try to wedge themselves in there. They may try to get under your skin and change you into something that you don't want to be, or make you forget who you really are, or try to convince you that who you really are is bad, but it doesn't have to be that way. We're all people. We all have our challenges. We're all unique. We all have things about us that make us who we are, that we are afraid to express or be public about, that we are afraid that people will respond to negatively. Break the silence. Use your voice. Break the silence. Use your voice. Eating disorders kill. They hurt. They cause problems. They rip people apart. They destroy. Have faith in yourself. Emotions can be really tricky. They can make us feel very vulnerable. And I think, in a way, vulnerability can almost be an emotion, because that feeling is very real. And it puts you in a place sometimes that just feels so uncomfortable and so almost childlike, like you have no control, or you're showing every piece of yourself, and you're not even sure who you are yet, so you don't want anyone else to see all that raw stuff. But being able to deal with those emotions is so important, because if you push them away, or if you hide yourself away from them, or if you cover them up with unhealthy behaviors that the eating disorder showed you, then you're missing out on all of the great stuff. You can't have only the good emotions. It doesn't work that way. You either get to feel your emotions or you don't get to feel your emotions. And if you choose not to feel any emotions, you are numb. You are experiencing just the miserable void of life. You don't get any of the good stuff. If you choose to feel your emotions, you have to take the bad with the good, but you get all of the good. And I think that's worth it. I think it's very worth it. And sometimes we're scared of feeling everything because we fear all the bad, but the fear of all the bad keeps us from experiencing all of the good. And usually the good does outweigh the bad. No one can do this for you. Only you can do this for yourself. And you deserve it. You're worth it. Recovery is possible. Use your voice. You're not alone.
Singing out